All right, now we're going to go back. We're going to go to Nancy Pelosi, who I call Nazi Pelosi on my website. She called the CIA liars. And, you know, to just see her the other day squirming at the podium, giving a speech, and the media was actually going after her, which surprised me. You know, I think that they got the thumbs up by the Obama regime to start dismantling this crazed left-winger, Nancy Pelosi, because she's seen as a liability soon. So we'll see what happens with that. The media was doing good until one of these stooges changed the subject and he starts asking about health care. And everyone, even the media, the reporters started booing him because they saw him as the stooge that he was, to change the subject and get Nancy Pelosi off the hot seat. So then she used that as an opportunity to try and like bolt out the door. And then one brave reporter said, hey, one more question. So that was really good. I like that. But here, I'm going to play a clip of that press conference.
Yes. Madam Speaker, just to be clear, you're accusing the CIA of lying to you in September of 2002.
Misleading the Congress of the United States.
And also
misleading the Congress of the United States.
And doing it again now as they've released this list of briefings that says you were briefed on the interrogation tactics that were used.
I'm quoting what the head of the CIA has said. We don't know if this information is accurate, but he's telling that. What they briefed us on, and perhaps they should release the briefings. I would be very happy if they would release the briefings. And then you will see what they briefed in one time and another, House and Senate and the rest. And perhaps with the intense interest that this is generated because of the distraction that the Republicans want to cause with this, then you can make a judgment yourself about what you think these briefings were. So my statement is clear, and let me read it again. I'm sorry, I have to find this. I was informed that the Department of Justice opinions had concluded that the use of enhanced interrogations was legal. The only mention of waterboarding was at the briefing, in the briefing, was that it was not being employed. When my staff person, I'm sorry, the page is out of order. 5 months later, my staff person told me that there had been a briefing, informed me that there had been a briefing, and that a letter had been sent. I was not briefed on what was in that briefing. I was just informed that the briefing had taken place.
What can be done? I mean, can she be held accountable if indeed the American public believes that she lied, if the members of the House believe that she lied, and that on top of lying, she then threw our CIA under the bus? What can be done to take away the speakership? What would be the procedure for that?
Megan, I would just tell you that it lies in the hands of Democrats. As long as they will support the Speaker Pelosi, she will be the Speaker. When their seats become vulnerable, if they're afraid that they're going to lose their seats because they vote for and defend this kind of activity that undermines our national security, at that point they'll find themselves a new Speaker. That's what it comes down to. It's pure raw politics. She's been playing politics with our national security. It was this Speaker, Speaker Pelosi, that brought over 40 votes to the floor of the House of Representatives in the 110th Congress that were designed to unfund, underfund, or undermine our troops in Iraq in attempts to bring about a result there that would be the exact opposite of what our troops have and President Bush have achieved today. So this is an enemy of national security that holds the gavel of the Speaker of the House, and now she's accusing the CIA, the people that have kept us safe over all these years, to be a group of liars who willfully and calculatingly lied to the United States Congress. It is outrageous, and the American people need to speak to their Democrat members of Congress and ask them to come up with a new Speaker.
Okay, that was Congressman King on Fox News talking to Megyn Kelly. And boy, I'll tell you, it shocked me. I jumped out of my seat when he said that Pelosi is a enemy to national security of the United States, which I've been saying for years. They've been trying to undermine national security, using it to push and promote their political agenda, to undermine the military, and they will do anything. It wasn't about Bush. This was about undermining the Republicans so they could gain power. You people You keep thinking it's about Bush. There were many things Bush did I disagreed with. Believe me, I'm the first to say it, all right? But these thugs, these leftists, let me tell you, they make Bush look like an amateur. They're really evil, okay? They hate this country. And Bush didn't hate this country like these people hate it. I'll tell you that. And at least Bush and the CIA, excuse me, they kept us safe all of these years. And despite people like Obama, Hillary, Ted Kennedy, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, these people undermined as much as they could for their agenda. Okay, now the CIA, how do you perform as a CIA agent if you have these politicians that are cowards and they're looking to undermine your ability to make this country safe? You can't trust them because they will throw you under the bus for political purposes in a heartbeat. Now here's a clip of Newt Gingrich. This is one of the best clips of Newt Gingrich that I've heard in a while. He needs to keep it up. Okay? Enough of this Republican crap. We need the Republicans are weak. Okay? They don't have balls. All right? They are afraid to open their mouth. Newt Gingrich, he's on the sideline, so I guess he could be more vocal and let it all hang out and tell the truth. And this is what he said about Nancy Pelosi.
Very hard for me to talk calmly about where we are. I think this is the most despicable, dishonest, and vicious political effort I've seen in my lifetime. Right after 9/11, this country was terrified. We had an anthrax attack. We had a real danger that there might be a nuclear attack. We were deeply worried about terrorists. Nancy Pelosi was the ranking Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. She had an absolute obligation to know what was going on, and she had an absolute obligation to speak up. Men and women risk their lives all over this planet protecting us. And she has now viciously and dishonestly turned on them. It is despicable. And as an Army brat, I find it unbelievably offensive that left-wing Democrats don't care about defending America. They care about hunting down and purging their political opponents in a way which is going to cripple this country. If you were a young man or woman out there today, would you feel comfortable doing anything to defend America, knowing that tomorrow they could decide you were a criminal? I think people need to understand this is really, really dangerous, and it is going to get a lot of people killed if we don't call a halt to it. Or what?
That's the thing.
I mean, she is nitpicking in a fundamentally dishonest way. It was her job. She could ask any question she wanted. The CIA and Porter Goss, who at that time was the chairman of the committee and later became the CIA director. Remember, Porter Goss had been a CIA agent years ago. He was a serious person defending this country. She is a trivial politician viciously using partisanship for the narrowest of purposes. And she dishonors the Congress by her behavior.
Are you concerned that the right questions were not being asked at the time?
Well, if they weren't, it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. And I think she's now trying to cover herself with her left-wing allies. And the fact is she either didn't do her job, or she did do her job and she's now afraid to tell the truth.
When it's all out on the table, who loses depending on...
Well, first of all, the country's losing right now because we're sending signals to the men and women in uniform and the men and women in intelligence to not defend America, to not trust your political system, to not trust your leadership, and to assume that even if you have legal advice, it may be changed later by some politician for some narrow partisan purpose. So the country is losing every day that this goes on. And second, I think for any honest person, that Speaker Pelosi is the big loser because she either comes across as incompetent or dishonest. Those are the only two defenses she's got.
And so are the Republicans going to gain from this controversy?
I don't think we ought to think about that. I think we ought to ask her, remember, this country is at war. There are people out there this morning who are trying to figure out how to kill us. I mean, nobody asked in 1943, will the Republicans gain over how a battle was fought with the Germans or the Japanese? They said, what are we doing for America? And I think we ought to focus on the question, What are we doing to make sure no nuclear weapon goes off in an American city? What are we doing to make sure there's no biological attack that kills 1 million Americans? What are we doing to make sure that next week you don't have a bomb go off at the local mall? And those things strike me as pretty darn important. And if you don't think they are, watch the evening news and watch countries where there are bombs going off.
Has this taken